Okay, good morning. So, last class we learnt about the dorsal medial lemniscus pathway. So, in this, the nerve fibers entering the dorsal column pass uninterrupted up to the dorsal medulla. When the synapse in the dorsal column nuclei, that is the nuclei gracilis and the cuneatus, so from there the second order neurons starts, they decussate immediately to the opposite side of the brain, forming the arc, and then continue upward through the medial lemniscus of to the thalamus. So in this pathway through the brain stem, each medial lemniscus is joined by additional fibers from the sensory nuclei of the trigeminal nerve. So these fibers, the trigeminal nerve fibers, subserve the same sensory function for the head that the dorsal column subserve for the body. So next, in the thalamus, the medial lemniscal fibers terminate in the thalamic sensory area, that is the ventrobasal complex. So from the ventrobasal complex, the third order neurons project mainly to the post central gyrus of the cerebral cortex. So this is called as the somatic sensory area, somatosensory area 1. And then we have the somatosensory area 2, and it is also called the association area. So this is about the last class. The dorsal medial lemniscal pathway is very important because it carries the main sensations like the fine touch, tactile, in the fine touch, tactile localization, tactile discrimination, vibration, index to the vibration, proprioception, stereognosis. So all these sensations are carried by the dorsal medial lemniscus pathway. So one thing you should know in this pathway is the spatial orientation of the nerve fibers in the dorsal column. That is, one of the distinguished features of this is a distinct spatial orientation of the nerve fibers from the individual parts of the body, that is maintained throughout. For example, so in the dorsal columns of the spinal cord, the fibers of the from the lower parts of the body lie toward the center of the cord, and then whereas those that enter the cord at progressively higher segmental levels, so they form successive layers laterally. So this is the spatial orientation of the, that means the lowermost will be present in the medial, then a little above will be present lateral to these fibers. So that means from medial to lateral, so the arrangement of fibers will be from the downwards of the body to the above parts. So the fibers which carries the lowermost fibers will be present in the medial side. Then when it goes on, the level goes on, increases, goes on above, so these fibers enters laterally to the medial fibers which are of the lowermost body. So that is the spatial orientation of the nerve fibers. So this is one thing about the dorsal columnar system, and we'll now learn about the somatosensory area or somatosensory cortex. So before discussing, we'll just look at the somatosensory area, about the Brodmann's area. So Brodmann's area is that the human cerebral cortex is divided into about 50 distinct areas. Yeah, so this is the diagram which shows the cerebral cortex is divided into different areas, and these are called the Brodmann's area. This is based on the histology. So this is very important as it is numbered. Okay, so the neurophysiologists and neurologists use it, refer it by numbering the Brodmann's area into different areas. And you should mainly see the central fissure which is present here in the Brodmann's area. So this central fissure, so they also called the central sulcus, that extends horizontally across the brain. So in general, the sensory signals from all the modalities of sensation, they terminate in the cerebral cortex immediately posterior to the central fissure. So generally the anterior half of the parietal lobe is concerned about the reception and interpretation of somatosensory signal, but the posterior half of the parietal lobe provides still high levels of interpretation. So now we'll see the somatosensory areas 1 and 2. So the somatosensory area 1 is the important because the somatosensory area 2 is also called the association area, whereas the somatosensory area 1 we call it as the primary area. So the however, why it is more because important is it is more extensive than the somatosensory area 2, and this has a high degree of localization of different parts of the body whereas there in localization is poor in the somatosensory area 2. So that's why this is the that's why it is divided into two areas, somatosensory area 1 and somatosensory area 2. Here you can see in the diagram, so the somatosensory area 1 is having the high degree of localization of different parts of the body, whereas somatosensory area 2 is having the lesser one. So it is known that the signal enters this area from the brainstem, transmitted upward from both the sides of the body. In addition, many signals come secondarily from somatosensory area 1 as well as from other sensory areas of the brain. So next we'll see what is this diagram, that is the diagram which showing the different parts of the body. So this diagram is very important. So this is about the spatial orientation of signals from different parts of the body in somatosensory area 1. So here the somatosensory area 1 lies immediately behind the central fissure, which is I already mentioned. So that is located in the post central gyrus of the human cerebral cortex. So the diagram, okay, so this is a cross section of the brain at the level of the post central gyrus. So this demonstrates the representation of the different parts of the body in separate regions of somatosensory area 1. So you can see here, so there is a representation of the different parts of the body in separate regions. Note that each lateral side of the cortex receives sensory information almost exclusively from the opposite side of the body. So the right side of the sensations will be in the left side of the cortex. So here some parts of the body are represented by large areas. So you can see here the lips, the face, so these are all represented largely, whereas the some parts are represented very minor. It's okay, that is small areas. So this is because, so this is directly proportional to the number of specialized sensory receptors in each respective peripheral area of the body. That means the number of receptors. So if the receptors are more, so then the sensation will be more. So a great number of special nerve endings in the lips, in the face, in the thumb. So what will happen? So that will be represented largely in the somatosensory area. So this is about this diagram, that spatial orientation of the different parts of the body in the somatosensory area. You can see here the medially, so the representation of the lower parts of the body, and then as it goes towards laterally, you can see the upper parts of the body. So that's why, so this is the representation of the sensations from different parts of the body. So if there are more receptors, the sensation will be high, the sensations will be perceived high. So now you have to see that this actually the sensory cortex is, the cortex consists of 6 layers. So each layer will be having the different function. So the sensory cortex is organized in vertical column of neurons. So one second, I'll just go to that. So you can see here in this diagram that the lips, the hands, thumb are represented largely, whereas the other remaining parts, legs and then the trunk, so everything will be smaller. That means it represents that the sensation, some areas of the body sensation will be represented largely in the somatic trunk. So the size of these areas are directly proportional to the number of specialized sensory receptors in each respective part of the body. So that is the thing. Okay, so you can just rewind this dorsal medial lemniscal system. Okay, before going to that, we'll see the different layers of the cortex. Yes, so this is the different layers of the cortex. So you just know that there are 6 layers of the cortex, and each layer is having the different function. So the first one is showing the first layer. Structure of the first layer is the molecular layer, and the second one is the external granular layer, and then the third one is the layer of small pyramidal cells, fourth one is internal granular layer, and the fifth layer is large pyramidal cell layer, and the sixth one is layer of fusiform. So this is about the different layers in the somatosensory cortex. So now we'll go to, okay, so I'll just brief about the dorsal medial lemniscal system. So ascending tract, So pathway to okay, from here you can see the first the first the first order neuron starts, and here it does not crosses to the opposite side, and then it ascends up to the medulla. So then from the medulla it crosses to the opposite side and then ascends up to the thalamus. Okay, so the second order neuron ends in the thalamus, and then from the thalamus it projects, the third order neuron starts and projects in the sensory cortex, post central gyrus. So that is about the dorsal medial lemniscal tract. Okay, so we should know that the sensory cortex, the function of the sensory area is, somatosensory area is to identify the main sensations, that is the fine touch, proprioception, and then in the fine touch, tactile localization, tactile discrimination. So all these are the function of somatosensory area. So now we'll see the somatosensory association area, also called the somatosensory 2. So the somatosensory association area, so the Brodmann's area 5 and 7, so we call it as the somatosensory association areas. So the area number 5 and 7 are the somatosensory association areas. So you can see in the diagram, the 5 and 7 is the somatosensory association area. This also play an important role in deciphering deeper meanings of the sensory information in the somatosensory areas. So the electrical stimulation in the somatosensory association area can occasionally cause an awake person to experience a complex body sensations, sometimes even the feeling of an object such as a knife or a ball. Therefore, it seems clear that the somatosensory association area combines information arriving from multiple points in the primary somatosensory area to decipher its meaning. So this also fits with the anatomical arrangement of the neuronal tracts that enter the somatosensory association area, because it receives signals from somatosensory area 1. So this is about the somatosensory areas. And one thing you should know, that the amorphosynthesis, so effect of removing the somatosensory association area, so that is called amorphosynthesis. So when the somatosensory association is removed on one side of the brain, the person loses ability to recognize complex objects and complex forms felt on the opposite side of the body. So that condition is called apomorphosis. In addition, he loses most of the sense of form of his own body on the opposite side. In fact, the person is mainly obvious to the opposite side of the body. So he lost the sensation of the opposite side of the body. He forgets that parts. Therefore, he often forgets to use the other side for motor functions as well. So this condition is called as apomorphosis. This complex sensory deficit is called amorphosynthesis. So this is about the somatosensory association areas. So in this condition, the person also tends to recognize only one side of the object and forgets that the other side even exists, and so this condition is called amorphosynthesis. So that's about the somatosensory association areas. So now we'll learn the other tracts, the spinothalamic tract, so ventral and lateral. So here the anterolateral pathway for transmitting sensory signals up the spinal cord and into the brain, in contrast to the dorsal columnar pathway. So this transmits sensory signals that do not require highly discrete localization of the signal source, that is like pain, temperature, crude touch sensations. So this is about the spinothalamic tract. This is of two, anterior and then lateral. So this concerned with arousal as well. So now we'll see the diagram which shows the anterolateral pathway. Okay, so here, so anatomy of the anterolateral pathway, anterior division and the lateral division. The spinal cord anterolateral fibers originate mainly in the dorsal horn laminae 1, 4, 5 and 6. So you can see in this diagram 1, 4, 5 and 6. So this laminae are where many of the dorsal root sensory nerve fibers terminate after entering the cord. So the anterolateral fibers, they cross immediately. Okay, so they cross immediately in the anterior commissure of the cord to the opposite side. You can see in the diagram, so the anterior and the lateral spinothalamic tract, they are crossing immediately to the opposite side in the anterior commissure. So where they turn upward towards the brain by the way of anterior spinothalamic tract and the lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay, then the upper terminus of two spinothalamic tracts, okay, is mainly, one is throughout the reticular nuclei of the brainstem, and the second one in two different nuclear complexes of the thalamus, that is the ventrobasal complex and the intralaminar nuclei. So in general, the tactile signals are transmitted mainly into the ventrobasal complex, so mainly in the to the thalamus, where the dorsal column tactile signals terminate. So from here the signals are transmitted to the somatosensory cortex along with the signals from the dorsal column. That means here also, so these tracts, they run through the medulla oblongata, so and then through the medial lemniscus and terminate in the ventrobasal nucleus and intralaminar nuclei of the thalamus. So the upper terminus of this tracts is mainly twofold, that is, one is throughout the reticular nuclei of the brain, and the second one is two different nuclear complexes of the thalamus. You can see here, so that is the thalamus. Okay, so from here along with the dorsal columnar fibers, they terminate in the somatosensory cortex. So this is about the anterolateral spinothalamic tract. So we have other tracts as well: dorsal spinocerebellar tract, ventral spinocerebellar tract. So this, okay, and head and face sensations I already mentioned. This is from the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so the head and face sensations, all the sensations from head and face, they travel by the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so these 2-3 tracts I will explain it in the next class. So before going to that, you should know about the dermatomes. So the dermatomes, in the sense, so each spinal nerve innervates a segmental field of the skin called a dermatome. That means, for example, you can see here C2. That means, so that is the part of the skin which is supplied by the C2 spinal nerve. So if there is a loss of sensation over that area, so that is called, so then you can identify that, so because there is a some lesion in the C2 spinal nerve. So this is the about the dermatomes, and the different dermatomes are shown over here. You can see here the C2, C3, C4, C5. So this shows that the different areas of the skin the sensations are carried by the different spinal nerves. So this is about the dermatome. You have to learn the what are all the areas, what are the segments of the skin are supplied by the different spinal nerves. Okay, so this is about the today's topic. So the remaining tracts and about the pain, so I will explain it in the next class, that is on the next class. So if you have any doubt, please you can ask me. Okay, thank you.